Any questions for the team? We got Christopher and myself here at least. I'll probably be handling most of the questions. I did ping the engineers. They might join us shortly. Interim. If anybody has any questions about building on Quai, feel free to drop them in the chat or reply up here on X. Probably prioritize the chat per usual. And then towards the end of the space, we'll jump over into X and see if there's any good comments over there. If Q-Shore doesn't beat me to it, of course. Let's see here. I'm just going to scroll through. We got a couple questions coming in. I did ping the core engineers, so hopefully they can join us and answer some of these deeper tech questions, but we'll just start with this first one here. Let's see here. Keyshore saw a sudden drop in chi yield on AlphaMine chi pool a week or so ago. They identified that the yield drop was linked to the new logging code, and now they need to battle test and possibly refactor it so it doesn't choke under load. Oh, interesting. Interesting. Well, I personally am not super familiar with AlphaMine. I have a couple miners myself, but I really only use them for testing because they're quite loud, and I don't have a place to run them 24/7. But maybe we could ping AlphaMine about that one. I'm going to do that now, see if he's got any comments. AlphaMine, any comments? Nice, nice. All right, moving right along. Keyshore is bringing some questions from the community here. They were asking some NFT dApp building questions while going through our example. Excuse me. Yeah, so just fair warning, that example is a little out of date. That's what I was working on last week during the live stream. Does set token URI, token ID, comma, token URI allow for duplicate URIs? Yes, it does. So what's happening in the background is there's effectively a token ID to token URI map. So you can use the same token URI for every single token ID if you would like, or different ones if you would like, or duplicate the first 100, then use another URI for the second 200. It's money Legos over there in Solidity land. So absolutely, it does allow for duplicate URIs. I would say you don't see a lot of smart contracts written that way. I think the reason why the initial repo was written that way was to demonstrate the functionality. But typically what happens is there's a like a static base URI. For example, you have a collection of I don't know, like 510,000 unique profile picture NFTs, if you will. What you'll do is you'll set a base URI to like an IPFS hash that points to like a folder on IPFS. And then when somebody calls like get token URI, what you'll do is you'll return that base URI, and then you'll also append like token ID.json, right? And so what that ends up looking like, just to drop it in chat here, IPFS : / IPFS hash is likely the base URI. And then what they'll do, and what I did in the example last week was we overwrote the get token URI function. And so what we did was we returned that base hash, or that base URI, which is an IPFS hash that points to a directory, for example. And then we'll append, the token ID, and then like .json, right? And this is what I plan on demonstrating tomorrow afternoon. We need to get some JSONs created and some art created, and we get them uploaded into IPFS. And then when you overwrite that function for returning the token, or for returning the token URI, you'll programmatically point to the correct JSON. So that's probably the more standard implementation. Again, I think the current repo is just demonstrating functionality. But hopefully that answers that question. Ideally, you have the JSON formatted correctly and uploaded into IPFS, and then you label them with the proper token ID, and then the smart contract can return the correct JSON. Overall. What does Solidity Optimizer with 1,000 runs mean? That's an interesting question. What does Solidity Optimizer with 1,000 runs mean? I wonder where we see that. I'm going to have to peek the repo real quick. Let me pull that up. If you could point to where we see that, Kishore, that would be super helpful. Dominant strategies / Quai NFT dApp. Solidity Optimizer with 1,000 runs. Maybe was that no? Where did we see that, Kishore? Oh, that's a really good question. I actually do not know. So what Kishore's pointing to here, I assume, is the hard hat configuration. And so in the current repo, there's a configuration for Solidity where it sets the optimizer true for 1,000 runs. Okay. I'd have to look that one up. That's a good question. I don't even know if that's actually in my latest repo. Let me check out my latest repo real quick. And politics / Quai NFT dApp. Let's see what's in here. Yep, it's in there too. All right. Well, sounds like I'm about to learn something. Let's see here. Solidity, configuration, optimizer, runs. Okay. So I'm just gonna paste some content I just Googled. Hopefully this helps. This is pretty low level stuff, guys. Great questions, Kishore. So here's what a quick search just told me, which is kind of interesting. Because basically, the parameter specifies how many times each opcode of the deployed contract is expected to be executed throughout its lifetime. It is not the number of iterations the optimizer performs, as the optimizer will always run until it can no longer improve the code. Okay. Well, so ultimately, it's kind of giving the optimizer a parameter to work off of in terms of how often do we expect this opcode to be executed? So I think 1,000 runs is something that I probably always use because it's come in all the templates, but you learn something every day. Rock on. All right, I see Jonathan in the audience. Let's see if we can bring him up to speak. There you go, Jonathan. I just sent you an invite. Interim. Next question down here. how can we prevent race conditions when multiple users attempt to mint at the same time? Oh, great question. So it's my understanding that the every mint transaction is executed in sequence, right? So the node is not going to attempt to execute two mints at the exact same time, right? So it'll execute one mint transaction, update state, and then it'll execute the second mint transaction. So I believe in a single shard, every mint transaction and state updates happens in sequence. They do not occur in parallel, but maybe that's not quite correct. But ultimately, you should never run into a situation where two transactions, mint the same token ID. It's my understanding that that is technically impossible. Nice. Good question. Rob, explaining fruit chain could certainly help other people understand why that system is more fair to reward miners. I agree, Rob. So you probably heard Dr. K on the Monero Talk podcast. I think it was last Friday. Mentioned fruit chains briefly, or at least I think it was Doug who mentioned fruit chains. Just to be clear, what we've implemented here at Quai is work shares or proportional reward sharing, PRS, as I believe Shai prefers to call it, since that's the title of the paper. So technically, we were talking about work shares and proportional reward splitting, or is it sharing? I think it's splitting, actually, or proportional reward splitting. So fruit chains is, it's my understanding, it's kind of an iteration beyond like traditional proof of work in order to help mitigate selfish mining. Work shares, or PRS, is a net new iteration, and it's not exactly fruit chains, but they are related. When you talk about things you can do to mitigate selfish mining. So while I don't think I can give you a great answer on how fruit chains can help with a system that is more fair to reward miners, as you state here, and work shares, aka PRS, aka proportional reward splitting, is definitely a better topic for Dr. K, perhaps Jonathan or Shikara, if they're around. They can definitely help explain those a little bit better. We also do tech AMAs with Dr. K every Wednesday. So if you want to come back Wednesday and ask that question, that'd be awesome. Yeah, sorry, I'm not the best suited to answer that question for you. What I will do, though, is there is a, let's see here, docs.q.ai. There is a paper on proportional reward splitting. It kind of sounds like some folks who've been following along might be getting these two things confused, and I totally understand why, since we're talking about it in the same context here. But PRS, or proportional reward splitting, is what we've actually implemented here at Quai Network, and what I believe Dr. K will be submitting as a PR to the Monero community real soon. So let's see here. Let's try to tag Rob in this one. There you go, Rob. Great question, though. Personally, I come from the Ethereum ecosystem where I never had to think about these things. So about 2 years ago, I had to get kind of read up on not just mining, but UTXOs. It was definitely a short learning curve for me. And, selfish mining is really kind of going off the deep end when it comes to proof of work. Interesting things happening in the proof of work space these days. All right. Great question, though. I expect a lot more of those real soon. So we're going to learn all those details together, I hope. All right. Next question here. Explaining why the 2-week periods when converting and difference between the two chains, EVM and UTXO ledger. Okay, great question. Real quickly on the 2-week lockup periods when converting Quai to Chi or Chi to Quai, which I'm assuming you're referring to. That's really to help mitigate against shocks in supply and demand and, folks from manipulating the controller, if you will. So that was really just a step we had to take in order to facilitate the controller's ability to actually maintain market neutral preference between the two. So hopefully that answers that question. And then the difference between the EVM and UTXO ledger. So Quai, EB and EVM compatible is on an account-based ledger. And then Chi, which is not EVM compatible, but has privacy properties of cash, is on a UTXO ledger. So ultimately, one blockchain, two separate ledgers, aka two separate state roots. So one blockchain, two state roots, one being an account-based ledger, the other is a UTXO ledger. I believe that's as simple as I can explain it. Let me know if you have any follow-ups, Rob. This one thing I run into a lot when talking about Quai is how do the two tokens work on a single blockchain? Most people assume it's multiple blockchains, and while Quai can shard in the future when the demand calls for it, on a single shard you have both ledgers. Nice. If the mint is limited, then sometimes people do take advantage. If we're talking about NFTs, yes they do. But you can program around that, right? So you can create an NFT with a whitelist, with a limited number of mints per account. So, if you want to attempt to mitigate somebody minting all the NFTs all at once, a simple way to do that is the mint function first checks to see if the sender of the transaction already has NFTs in their wallet. So check the token balance of that account, and if that account has, say you want to set it to only 4 mints per wallet or per address. If the account balance is 4 or greater, the mint function fails. That's one way to get around it. Hey, Jonathan. Can you hear us?
Hey, how's it going? I think Dr. K is about to join us as well. We had a meeting, so we just finished up the meeting.
Okay, rock on. Hopefully it was a good one. Looking forward to having you on here with us. While I got you, though, maybe you can help me answer Rob's question a little bit. At 11:09, if you're looking at the chat, Rob was asking about fruit chains and, how can we help other people understand why that system is more fair for rewarding miners? And I simply just, reminded Rob what we do here at Quai Network is PRS or work shares or proportional reward splitting. But maybe you could just walk through how that's possibly more fair for miners.
Yeah, so fruit chains also pays, miners for these kind of low-hanging fruits. It's a little bit different than the way Workshares works. I think it was the fruits include transactions instead of the blocks, and blocks include fruits, I think, if I remember correctly. I have to read the paper again. It's been actually a couple of years since I read that paper. I actually did write an article about it recently, though. He wrote kind of an article comparing the two. So I'm going to try to find a link to that.
I was just looking for that.
1 second. This is going to help you understand kind of, I guess, the differences. Yeah, this is it. Okay, I'll post it in the chat here.
There it is.
1 sec.
Yeah, unfortunately, I only had time to skim it, but that should be a great article to get you up to speed on fruit chains.
Yeah, there's like some issue in fruit chains that makes it really difficult to implement, and so there's actually no implementation of it in reality, because it's a lot more complicated, or there's some issue with it that is not an issue in PRS. So we've used fruit chains as kind of this original inspiration, but we've changed it quite significantly in proportional reward sharing, or PRS. And there's one thing that's the problem is there's really slow convergence, there's really slow finality in fruit chains. To get the intuition, I'd have to read the paper again, but yeah. So PRS is similar. Oh, I would certainly read that blog post, by the way. But PRS is similar. Rewards people based on their hash rate contribution. And so basically, if you have 10% of the hash rate, you get 10% of the rewards, which, reduces variance, right? And with work shares and everything, it makes pool mining a lot less, necessary, I guess. So when you're mining in Bitcoin, when you're mining in, let's say Monero, or whatever other proof of work, Zcash, whatever proof of work chain you're mining, you only get a reward when you find a block. And sometimes you find a block in 10 minutes, and sometimes you find a block in 10 days. The variance can be very high. That's variance, by the way. The variance is kind of how long does it take you to find a block on average, and what is, the maximum amount of time, and what is the minimum amount of time, right, on average. And you can say, well, based on some, measurement of my hash rate and some, difficulty of a block, it's say there's some probability I find a block in 1 hour, and there's some probability that I don't find a block for 24 hours, PRS basically says, we can tie down based on your hash rate. You can estimate the probability of you finding a share with very low variance, with a high degree of confidence, basically. So I can say I'll find a share once a day or once a week, and you can be very confident about that because the variance is lower. So you wouldn't get rewarded maybe once a week. You'd get rewarded every time you find a work share, which is a lot more likely to happen, basically. So the idea is you get rewarded based on your proportion of the hash rate, rather than you get rewarded based on luck. There still is obviously an element of luck, but it reduces that to mostly just your share of the hash rate. So that basically means that you don't need a pool to mine Quai. You do need a node. We're developing D pools, which are kind of like a pool that any node runner can run just easily as part of the node. So a miner can connect to your node, and your node will feed the miner blocks, and the miner can verify that those blocks are valid and include their Coinbase in it. So that's kind of decentralized pooling, but you can also just mine solo. Solo mining on Quai is very, very easy. Solo mining on Caspa is also very easy, so it's kind of equivalently as easy to solo mine. So pools are, in the future probably won't be as big of the hash rate as they are today. Once we make D pools easier, and once people understand that, they can get a reward by just mining from their own node. So it increases decentralization. It also reduces selfish mining. Selfish mining is basically when a miner finds a block and they try to not publish it. They try to mine on top of it privately. And when they find the second block, that they mined in their own little private chain. They release it to the network and they get 2 blocks, whereas normally they would have just gotten 1. And that increases their share of the rewards greater than their share of the hash rate. So if I have 30% hash rate in Bitcoin and I selfish mine, I can get, I think it's 35% of the rewards instead of 30%, something like that. So that's a problem as well in Monero, which is something Cubic is taking advantage of, and we've solved that as well with PRS and work shares. So there's a lot that goes into it, but that's kind of the summary.
Heck yeah. Appreciate that, Jonathan. Much better answer than I could have given. Great question. Rob, he's got another one I'm really excited for you to participate in here. He was asking questions about the 2-week lockup periods and the differences between the two chains, the account-based Quai ledger and the UTXO Chi ledger. So I did my best to explain why we have a 2-week lockup period to really help the controller do its job. But if you could expand on the 2-week lockup period, that would be awesome. And then we'll just start there.
Is it like, why is there a 2-week lockup? Is that the question?
Yep. Bingo.
Yeah. So it's actually privacy mostly, but I'd say it's 2 things actually. It's privacy and it's controller design. So I'll elaborate on both. First is privacy. So Chi is intended on being a cash-like currency or a currency with cash-like privacy properties. And also cash-like stability. So we have a controller that kind of brings the price of Chi to the energy like $1, or I think it's $1.20 of energy today. But again, $1.20 of energy today could be $1 of energy in a week. It could be $2 of energy. But it's actually the energy that we're trying to tokenize, not necessarily the USD valuation, but that's another topic. So Chi is like an energy dollar with cash-like privacy properties. So that means that when you want to do certain things on chain that reduce your anonymity, we actually penalize you. We force you to wait 2 weeks as an anonymity reducing penalization process. Now it's also controller stability, and I'll get to that in a second. So basically when you want to, let's say I have like 100 $20 bills, right? And each of those $120 bills is in a different wallet. That's actually how Chi operates. Okay. So I might have like, one $20 bill in the wallet in my pocket. I might have another $20 bill in the wallet under the center console of my car. I might have another $20 bill in the wallet that is, under my kitchen sink, for example. And obviously in our case, they all live in your computer or your phone, whichever, wallet you're using. But they all live in technically a different wallet or a different address. Okay. So I'm thinking of wallet as an address, to be clear, because when you use Pelagus, it is technically one wallet, but that wallet has like 1,000 or 2,000 wallets inside of it, kind of. And each of those wallets has a single dollar bill, okay? And that dollar bill can be a 1, it can be a 10, a 20, 100, 1,000, it can be 0.1 Chi, right? But you have like thousands of these. And when you want to do things like, let's say you take 100, of those $20 bills, and you want to make like a $2,000 bill, right? 100 times 20 is 2,000. You don't actually have a $2,000 bill, but let's just say. And you take 100 of those wallets and you make a $2,000 bill from them. What you're doing is you're reducing your anonymity set, because you can now no longer have that 1,000 anonymous wallets. You actually only have 100. You took the 100 anonymous wallets, now you only have 1. And that reduced your anonymity. And so we allow you to do that in Chi once per block, okay? Now, when you do something like convert Chi to Quai, same thing happens, okay? You're taking a bunch of wallets and you're compressing them down into one, and that's your Quai wallet. It goes right to your Quai wallet. And anybody on chain can verify that. And so that's bad for anonymity. So we allow this it's called aggregation. Okay. Aggregation is when you take a bunch of your wallets, or a bunch of your bills, and you combine them into one bill. We allow aggregation in Chi once per block. And we allow, you obviously to convert Chi to Quai, which is the same aggregation process. And when you convert Chi to Quai, we lock it, because, that's not good for anonymity, but also for controller, stability. And another thing is that if you were, for example, to wrap your chi, right? So if you wrap your chi, you're doing the same thing. You're aggregating them into one address. Now, when you wrap your chi, we actually don't enforce any lockup. When you unwrap, though, back to chi, what you're doing is taking that single account on Quai that has wrap chi, and you're converting that to I don't know, $120 bills, but they all are going to go to the same wallet. Originally, you had $120 bills in 100 wallets. When you unwrap, though, you're doing, one wallet to one wallet, kind of. And that means that all of those bills in that Chi wallet are now, not anonymous. Okay, so that also has a lockup. Now, we can get into reducing those lockup times. I kind of think we should reduce those lockup times from 2 weeks. And there's other things we should do. Like, for example, we are going to implement a way for you to convert wrap chi to Quai so that you don't have to wait 4 weeks to do that whole process, because that's ridiculous. So you should be able to do wrap chi to Quai, and then there's going to be, a 2 week lockup, and then you unlock, and then you get your Quai after 2 weeks rather than, having to unwrap, wait, and then convert. So there's ways to get around this. And I do think that when unwrapping, you shouldn't have to wait 2 weeks. I think 1 week is probably more reasonable. So that's another discussion we're going to have, in the future. But that's kind of the justification for why that happens. And also, if you convert Chi to Quai and you don't put high enough slippage, and the controller refunds you, you also get that Chi locked up, because the same thing happens where all of those, Chi outputs, all of those dollar bills that were aggregated into one, they kind of come back, but they come back to one wallet, I'm pretty sure. One wallet. And so you have, again, one wallet with 100 different dollar bills. Again, not good for anonymity. So that's another reason that that is locked. This is a really, you can consider it annoying. It's a really strong, incentive for users to take their anonymity into account when they're using Chi. Because the anonymity of one user affects the anonymity of another user, especially when it comes to cooperative signatures. So when we, enable this cooperative signature scheme, you're going to be kind of signing your outputs with other people. And so other people's anonymity set kind of affects yours in that case. It's kind of like Monero in that case. I mean, we don't have literally ring signatures or anything like that, but it's kind of similar in terms of the anonymity set. So we have to do these privacy enforcement things to make it kind of more private, because if only some people are using it properly and other people are using it improperly, then the privacy guarantees kind of go away. Now there's controller design, which is another really important feature to prevent kind of like a inflationary or deflationary death spiral. You have to kind of prevent the controller from acting very quickly. It cannot be, you can't be able to convert quite a Chi in a matter of seconds, minutes, or even hours. In order to prevent, kind of a run on the bank, or prevent people from converting quite a Chi the second that it goes up in value, it has to be a longer term and a slower process. That's just necessary for controller stability, because the same issues were in Luna, like UST, Terra, and Luna, where there was a stablecoin backed by this kind of Luna coin. I'm not really sure what the point of Luna was, but I think it was a gas token, I think. But basically the reason that UST crashed so quickly is because you could instantly convert between the two. And I mean, another issue obviously is that Luna wasn't backing, or UST wasn't fully collateralized by Luna. But basically, when Luna went down, the collateral backing UST was going down, and so people will try to convert. And because it instantly allowed you to convert with no limits, it created a deflationary death spiral for the UST. So to fix some of these issues, number one, obviously the collateral is there, but also Quai fully collateralizes Chi, but also there's a waiting period, a lockup period in the controller. There's limits in the controller. The controller doesn't adjust immediately. It takes a moving average, and so the 2 week lockup when you convert is specifically to stabilize the controller in events that cause drastic price differences. So if everybody's trying to convert quite a Chi at once, most people will have to, accept a really high slippage. If everybody's trying to convert Chi to Quai, kind of the same thing, and they also have to wait 2 weeks. So it stabilizes the controller. So those are the two reasons. Hopefully that explanation helped you.
Heck yeah, man. Holy cow. I just got a huge education. Wow, really appreciate that. Rob, if you have any follow-ups, feel free to ask. I got a couple. Well, first of all, you reminded me of the privacy incentive there, and I think that's super important. I definitely want to highlight that because I think usually when we talk about the 2-week lockups, it's all about controller stability. So totally acknowledge the benefit of the incentive there for privacy. That's huge. And you're right. When you're conducting transactions with other parties, their privacy, their anonymity, I guess, is a better way to say it, impacts your anonymity. So, man, really appreciate you highlighting that.
Yeah, we definitely have kind of like rules built into Qi to enforce privacy best practices. And when we enforce those privacy best practices, we kind of also enforce privacy as a whole. Because if we allowed people to operate in a less private fashion, yeah, like I said, it would affect other people once we go fully private with this kind of like cooperative signature scheme. It would affect other people. So, especially for merchants. So like merchants get a lot of payments from people. So a merchant's anonymity set kind of depends on the anonymity set of all of its like transactors or perps or clients or whatever. So as a merchant, like you might not really care about anonymity too much, but as a buyer, you do care. But when you send money to a merchant, with what we're developing, like your privacy kind of relies on the merchant's privacy too to some degree, and the merchant's privacy relies on other buyers. So you see, it's kind of all like cooperative.
Yeah.
And so we do have to enforce these kind of privacy best practices.
Yeah, Carl mentioned this also on Monero Talk, right? Like she, doesn't have perfect sender privacy, but in reality, that's, very, very difficult to achieve and just doesn't really make sense. But yeah, really appreciate
Well,
you.
it can. If you do everything correctly, your identity and like the ability for a third party to kind of say that two wallets are related becomes very difficult. They can do so, obviously, when you convert.
Right.
That is not good for privacy. They can do that when you unwrap Qi as well. They can, organize or cluster. It's called clustering, where a third party goes in and tries to identify the relationships between wallets. It's called clustering. So a third party can cluster your wallets when you do a conversion, back or forth from or to Qi, and they can cluster when you do an unwrap. And I guess also when you do a wrap, technically, because that's also aggregation. So anytime you do this kind of like cross-ledger transaction, you are opening yourself up to a clustering, which is where a third party like chain analysis can come in and say, well, these addresses are related. They're probably the same person. But when you do things like cooperative signatures, you can get away from that, like completely.
Right. Good point. Yeah, great call out. That technically it is possible. The situation I always think of is like, if you're going to buy your coffee in Qi, the barista knows who you are. But on chain, definitely possible. Great call out. Okay, so one quick follow up, Jonathan. I just had this idea. Tell me if this is insane or not. I know we're playing with the idea of reducing the lockup period to say 1 week, and we're working on a solution for folks to go from wrapped Qi to Quai in a single lockup period. I was just thinking while you were talking, would it be feasible to only do lockups when you're moving assets out of Qi, right? So if I'm going, or sorry, when you're going into Qi, for example. So if I'm going from wrap Qi, if I'm unwrapping Qi, or I'm going from Quai to Qi, we incur a lockup. But if you're leaving Qi, say going to wrap Qi or to Quai, there is no lockup period. Have we thought about that at all?
No, when you convert Qi to Quai, you always have to lock. That's
Right.
necessary for controller stability.
Oh, okay. Oh, that makes sense. Okay, disregard then. All right. Appreciate that, Jonathan. Man, great questions, Rob. Really appreciate you joining us and asking those. I definitely just got and education. So hopefully that answered your questions as well. Again, feel free to follow up. Moving on, Kishore was hanging out with the Monero community a little bit, it looks like, and saw a question he thought would be good for us to answer. Since work shares approximate mining power distribution, do they introduce significant storage and bandwidth overhead as the network scales? Great question.
No, the network and storage or bandwidth overhead doesn't change as the network grows. You would have, if you had like multiple chains, you'd have more work shares in total. But because most miners will only run a subset of the network, they won't run a full node. Like there's no real difference there. The number of work shares per block, per chain, I guess, remains the same. It's not going to change based on network scale or anything like that. Now we could change it so once you get to like 100 terahash difficulty, like it becomes more difficult for solo miners to find a work share, but they should still find a work share like once a week, I'm pretty sure. So the variance, it's not great, but it's way better than Bitcoin. A solo miner in Bitcoin is not going to find a block every week. There's just no way. So the variance, it gets worse as the network scales, but you can add more work shares to make that easier. Or you can just, be satisfied with the fact that you find a work share once a week, you get paid once a week, and that's just it. I don't think it introduces significant storage or bandwidth overhead.
Got it. It's an iterative increase to overhead, but it doesn't increase. It doesn't scale. It doesn't grow when the network scales effectively. Is the statement? Is that true?
Sorry, say that again.
So, like, if you don't have work shares today, implementing work shares is a little bit of extra overhead, but it doesn't, constantly grow as the network scales.
Yeah, that's right.
Got it. Okay. Rock and roll. Wow, really appreciate that, Jonathan. Let's see here. We've run out of questions down below. Kishore's calling out CoinJoin. Yep, I believe that's what Jonathan was referring to as a technical solution for achieving sender privacy on chain. And then he also linked a tweet here from Exit Node talking about POH. Is that proof of history versus PRS? And he refers to the tweet above and says he would like us to comment. So work shares are heavy. They contain more data tied to block templates, so they aren't just simple receipts. Under Monero's algorithm, RandomX, verifying lots of work shares is slow and expensive. This was the reason the POP proposal shied away from them. Hundreds of them per block could clog validation, and PRS changes Monero's economic model. Rewards are no longer winner takes all, but pooled and split. This is a big shift and risky for privacy culture. Interesting take there. Just one.
I don't see what that has anything to do with privacy. That's like kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, I understand how it changes the economic model, and I think the question I would pose back to the poster is, how many work shares per block is needed? I don't think hundreds of work shares per block is what Dr. K was proposing. It's a variable.
You could probably do like 10 or 20 per block. I mean, either way, like you would get a really good sampling rate. Like even like, I mean, in Quai we do 10 per block, but we also have 5-second block times. Monero has 2-minute block times. I mean, yeah, for those of you who don't know, we're proposing a solution to Monero's selfish mining issue. Cubic is selfish mining Monero. They wouldn't be able to do that on Quai, at least if they have less than 51% of the hash rate. They have like 30% on Monero, so they're able to successfully selfish mine profitably. This causes reorgs and causes transactions to get unconfirmed or like reversed. Our solution is obviously work shares and proportional rewards splitting. PRS and work shares, we believe, would solve their problem almost entirely. There's various ways to do that. So, I mean, yeah, we're like building a proposal for them. We're putting a proposal together. Our main goal is to spread awareness of Quai and what we've built. But we also want to help other chains as well. Monero is a few $1 billion, so it would be cool if 1% of Monero people decided to buy Quai because of this. I don't know if it will cause that, but that'd be pretty cool. Our proposal is going to be, use PRS, use work shares. We're building kind of a fork of Monero that will, have those features implemented so that they could just, accept it if they want to. But there's other proposals, right? So there's this proof of honesty thing.
That's it.
There's like several other proposals. We view them all as not as good, obviously. The thing about this proof of honesty is like it also has these fruits or these little proofs of work. Miners generate fruits, tiny lightweight receipts that reference real transactions from the last block. So like you're basically making a work share. I mean, a work share is literally just a proof of work that points to the previous block. A work share is like a couple hundred bytes, I think, like probably 200 bytes or something. It's not heavy like that. This is like literally written by AI too. If you actually read the text here, it's like very clearly written by ChatGPT. Which is fine, I guess, if the author is like foreign, I guess that's like fine. But it doesn't actually have the M dash. I was like looking for the M dash in here. I don't see it. If you find an M dash, let me know. That's usually like
but clearly,
it's usually like a.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's like, there's some parallels for sure. They have these fruits. So they're like saying that the fruits that point to the previous block is tiny and lightweight, and then they say work shares are heavy in comparison, but like either way, they're proofs of work, right? So work shares are not transactions, they're not blocks, they are, well, we consider them headers in Quai, which means that they could be a block if they had transactions in them, and if they were heavy enough to be like a block in terms of work, but they're not heavy enough, they don't have any transactions, so you're talking about a couple hundred bytes here per work share. It's really like low bandwidth requirements. So I don't know. I think it's kind of a weird like thing to say that like work shares are heavy, but these fruits are lightweight. I guess I'd have to read the full proposal to understand, what the difference is in terms of size.
Yeah, no sweat. No sweat. Really appreciate you, Kishore, for bringing that to our attention. It's interesting to know how people are thinking about these different solutions. And really appreciate Dr. K and the team doing the work, having the conversations. It's an interesting time in proof of work today. To your point, definitely a way for us to let more people know about, what Quai Network is and what we've built and what our opinion is. And I'm a huge proponent of PvE, player versus environment, here in crypto. I'll just also say, like Dr. K and Jonathan, I think Monero is a huge contribution, and it would be cool if we were able to help them out in some way with what they got currently going on. So thanks for that, Jonathan. I really appreciate it. When you ask AI to write a tweet, it definitely uses this format. Kishore's letting us know.
I mean, it's not literally AI slop. I just disagree with the arguments laid out in the tweet.
Yeah, no, agreed.
Heavy verification load is like another thing. Like, you still have to verify the fruits, right? That they're valid. They say miners generate fruits, tiny lightweight receipts that reference real transactions. So are they proofs of work, or? I know I'm like confused actually. I don't even know if they're proofs of work or not. They don't really say. But either way, the verification load for RandomX is low for most CPUs. 100 per block maybe is too much, but like 100. Like think about RandomX, right? So like a normal CPU in RandomX can do like probably 2,000 hashes per second, maybe 1,000 hashes per second, and that means that 100 hashes should only take 100 milliseconds. That's just like math. But if you have a shitty CPU, which I guess is what they're optimizing for, maybe you can say, okay, I can only do 100 hashes per second. I mean, that's a pretty shitty CPU, but I guess, yeah, it's possible. If you can only do 100 hashes per second, then it would take you 1 second to do the verification. Luckily, ProgPow is a lot faster on CPU. So we don't have to worry about that as much in Quai. So you could just reduce it to like 20 work shares. I mean, and that would be like minuscule.
Yeah, good points. Good points. But the Monero folks definitely hardened and true to their principles, so I respect them for that. Something that Doug brought up was mining on phones, which might be one of the reasons they're talking about the weightiness. They definitely prioritize permissionless systems, which we love.
Yeah, but if you're mining on a phone, I mean, presumably you have a phone that can do at least like 1,000 hashes per second. Otherwise, you're not going to get anything. If you can't do 1,000 hashes per second, I don't actually think you're going to get anything in Monero, like ever. Like even from a pool, I mean, I just think you're going to make like $1 a week or something. It's just like ridiculous. So.
Yeah, good point. Good point. Rock and roll, Jonathan. Thanks for joining us today. We're coming up on time. I don't see any other questions. Jumping over to X again. I didn't see any comments over there. But while we have you, since we might not get you tomorrow on the Tuesday space, maybe share a little bit of what you're working on and what the community should look forward to coming from the team next.
We're going to be releasing, by the way, work object is, work share is 200 bytes. I just wanted to put that out there. I think I saw a comment about that. Anyways, it's 200 bytes. So yeah, what we're working on is, Kipper Mobile right now. We're going to have that released this week. I mean, it's in test flight already. So if you sign up for the test flight waitlist, you're going to get that, this week. And then we'll have it hopefully in the App Store shortly after. So we're working on things for that. So Kipper Mobile is basically a community building tool. That's how we view it now. I mean, it's obviously a tipping, tool for X, but X kind of has subscriptions. They kind of have, you can put your Bitcoin address in your profile, for example. So they have like some like basic tools to do that. What we're building is more of a community building tool that allows us to reward community contributors on X. And so other communities can do the same thing. So we have like other coins on there now, other tokens, and we're building community building tools for them as well. So basically on Kipper, like you'd be able to set up a community and you'd be able to set up like targets. You want to like certain things you want to tweet about or certain people you want to tweet to, certain tweets you want to reply to, right? Those things. And then you're going to have these moderators that kind of reward contributions in those communities. So it's not just on Quai, it's on Solana as well, but we think it's a really great community building tool for both Quai and, other coins like Solana. So it's, it's primarily marketing. It's also a great way to use Quai in a real world setting, and it is a community building tool. And so we're building that, and we're going to have that out this week, or we kind of already do in test flight, but we're going to have to, invite people who want to join. And I see Rob wants to join, so we can get him on there. And then we also have some Pelagus releases coming out this week for like unwrapping Chi and stuff like that. So that's in the works. I think there's like a UI revamp for Pelagus. And we got, other things in the works. We got, I think Blip is currently in a beta testing stage, the next version of Blip. I think it's in the Google Play Store, but I think it's in some kind of beta, right? So it's not like publicly released yet. So that's also some review stage. And then we've got a big announcement coming this week as well for, something I can't talk about. But we'll have a big announcement this week for you guys pretty soon. So.
Heck yeah. Love it, Jonathan. I missed one question. Apologies for that. But real quick, Kishore's chatting with a team that wants to build on Quai, but use the MetaMask Snap instead of Pelagus. They're working on an in real life Pope issuance project. Would you recommend this?
So, you have to support Pelagus too for us to, take you seriously. Like, it's the main wallet. But you can use MetaMask Snap. There's an API for it. It is not the same API as normal MetaMask. So MetaMask usually injects a provider. In the Snap thing, they don't inject it exactly, but you can still communicate with it. I'll have to find the docs for that. There's ways to communicate with MetaMask Snaps, but they're not the standard way to communicate with MetaMask. So, who is that, Kishore? I'll have to find the docs for Kishore.
Yeah.
There's a way to communicate with it, but like, I mean, you should support Pelagus too. I mean, if you're going to build an app for Quai, like, come on, bro. Like, you got to build it for Pelagus at least. You can also build it for the Snap. That's fine. But like, the majority of our users use Pelagus, right? So you're kind of like shooting yourself in the foot if you're only supporting the MetaMask users. So, but yeah, there's a way to do it. It is, like I said, non-standard, but you know, MetaMask really should make it standardized, but they haven't yet. So that's just on them kind of, but we're gonna work through it. There's a way to do it.
Rock and roll. Maybe I'll play around with that in an upcoming stream, interacting with the Snap. Definitely something I want to cut my teeth on. And yeah, good call outs. Quick question. I know we're also working through getting Pelagus into Wallet Connect. Out of curiosity, do you know anything about being able to use a MetaMask Snap through Wallet Connect? Do we know if that's a thing?
No, that's Blip. So if you want to use a Quai dApp on your phone, you'd use Blip. Blip has Wallet Connect. Now our chain is not integrated in Wallet Connect just yet. So like basically we wrote it into Blip to support Wallet Connect, but it's on the Wallet Connect side for them to add support for Quai. So it's kind of a two-step process, but Blip technically does have kind of beta support for Wallet Connect. So what you can do is like for a Quai dApp that supports Wallet Connect, in the future you would be able to use or connect Blip to that dApp basically.
Okay. And once Wallet Connect supports Quai, it should be pretty easy to also have it support Pelagus. No, like if I'm a dApp builder and I'm depending on
it does support Pelagus, yeah.
It does today?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, they have to add it on their end, but like Pelagus supports Wallet Connect, I should say, already. It does, yeah.
Got it.
Who has like the latest version of Pelagus already has Wallet Connect support in there. But like, yeah, it would be an integration. The last step is on the Wallet Connect backend, I'm pretty sure.
Got it. Okay. Awesome. Appreciate that, Jonathan. Thanks so much for all of that. Yeah. Okay. So I pinged Christopher and Dr. K for you, Rob. I'll definitely tap him on the shoulder. Hopefully we can get you included in the Kipper mobile test flight version. A lot of stuff coming out this week. Jonathan gave us a really good rundown on everything in the works. Keep your eyes peeled for updates to Blip, Kipper Mobile, Pelagus, all sorts of stuff. Really big announcements coming this week as well. Keep your eyes peeled for all of that. But yeah, I think that wraps it up for today. Any final thoughts, Jonathan?
No, thank you guys for listening. It was a good chat. If you have any questions, feel free to tag me in Discord or tag our QUAI bot. He can also help with a lot of your questions.
Oh, yeah, good point.
But yeah, thank you guys.
Good point. I learned about how useful the QUAI bot is last week, trying to get some test tokens on Orchard. QUAI bot came in for the win there. I just dropped a link in chat for our developer Discord server. If you guys have any other developer questions, jump into that server. Lots of community help going on in there. Myself, Jonathan, the whole engineering team hangs out in there. And we'll get you squared away and send you on your journey to building on Quai. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Really appreciate everybody hanging out with us over here on X. We do this every Monday with the team, where you can come and ask any and all developer questions here at Quai Network. This is simulcasted from Discord, so if you want your questions answered quicker, definitely hang out with us in the Discord server. Again, these happen every Monday. We got a pretty jam-packed week for you guys today, so stay tuned for more. If you're not already following the Quai Network account on X/Twitter, definitely want to do that. And if you're new around here and you're trying to get your hands on some Quai, easiest way to do so is to go log in to kipper.money. It's a great tool for interacting with content creators on X, and we got a lot of updates to that rolling out real soon for you to build your own communities as well. So that's super cool. Definitely want to check out kipper.money or follow the @KipperMoney account over there on Twitter. I think you can get like up to 20 Quai just by onboarding, so go check that out. Otherwise, we are traded actively on MEXC, Gate.io, LBank, and a few others. You can swap for Quai on Let's Exchange. and we're on the Kraken roadmap. So keep your eyes peeled for that. You're still early here at Quai Network. We got lots of events lined up for you later this week. Definitely tune in again tomorrow to hear from the community in our What Did You Do Last Week space. We got the Tech AMA with Dr. K coming up on Wednesday. That should be a good one. He's working on a PR for the Monero community. And much more content coming for the rest of the week. So keep your eyes peeled for all of that. That'll do it for today. Thanks, everyone. Really appreciate the time today. We will catch you all next week. See ya.